Arts and peace is not a totally new field or topic. It has been around for quite some years already, and particularly also regarding the implementation of certain projects in the field of peace building, where common creative moments of arts, also the visioning of certain art pieces have been parts of programmatic activities of various actors. However, tonight we want to adopt a different perspective. The idea, in my words, and I will be corrected or complimented in whatever way afterwards, is to look at the question how art can help develop new perspectives or make things visible which otherwise wouldn't be accessible. And when I'm speaking about perspectives or accessible, visible, the target audience are not highly specialized persons, either in the field of peace building or in the field of arts. In my understanding, the target audience are normal people like all of us here in this room. And for this, I'm honored to have 4 very distinguished artists from South Korea here with us in the panel, and also their work, and also the work, and you will hear more about this from other artists present in the K-House on this floor and on another floor. SunJung,
Yes.
you are the first one in here.
Yes. It is a really great honor to be here in Basel to present the REAL DMZ project. I want, because he gave me only 5 minutes, I want to speak about 2 things. One is what is DMZ, because some of you don't know what is DMZ. So I will talk about what is DMZ, how it was made, and then second, I explain about REAL DMZ project. So these 2 I'm going to talk about. So the division of North and South Korea has produced effect on the political, social, military, and diplomatic section of both countries. The physical border is visible, marked by barbed wire fences, but the division's effect on the culture and the people's psyche are invisible and fruitfully powerful. These invisible borders haunted our everyday lives while drifting across many levels of our culture, society, knowledge, and experience. We can sense their existence, but cannot see them or describe them in words. They remain unknown unless they make themselves appear for us. So I'm talking about DMZ. So DMZ was divided Korea is an afterlife of Cold War. The Korean Peninsula was first divided in 1945 after Second World War by the United States and Soviet Union, with the former overseeing the South and the later supporting the North, schism that culminated in the Korean War from 1950 to 53. In 1953, it's 70 years already, the Armistice Agreement designed to bring an end of the fighting ordered both the South and the North to move their troops back an equal distance of 2 kilometers from the military demarcation line. So you can see the 38 parallel line became this DMZ now like this. Yes, sorry. Initially just a line, the border thus became a 4-kilometer wide, 248-kilometer long zone. Since the war ended with a truce agreement rather than a peace treaty, continuing conflict between the 2 countries have only seen the DMZ evolve into a heavy military area. Since the ceasefire of 1953, the critical state of imminent war became a norm in daily life. There are so many accidents and events been raised, like we found a tunnel, which was made by North Korea to invade it to South Korea in 70s, and also Korean President place was attacked by the North Korean army. And also, you can see from the news there is a nuclear power missiles and threat by North Korean. And the Seoul is only 3 minutes by the flight from North Korea, combat plane to reach Seoul. These are some of the threatening reality that elicit from us not only sense of crisis but also oblivion, so that we can continue with our daily lives. The trauma caused by the war and the division, the loss of family and relatives, and the continuing military and ideological tension has become internalized as part of our society and individual lives. So the Real DMZ project is a contemporary art and research project launched to explore the individual border of the DMZ through the critical lens of contemporary art, and to raise awareness about the division of Korea. Since 2011, through the collaboration with artists as well as other experts in different fields of study, including history, sociology, architecture, and ecology, Real DMZ project have been conducting research and producing artwork, exhibition, publication, and more than that, examine not only geographical borders, but also invisible borders such as psychological or emotional borders in our daily lives. It has evolved into extensive interdisciplinary exploration into the DMZ region and many other types of borders in contemporary society in large. From 2012, we are doing the project in Cheoron. It's a central, you can see it's from the north to south or east to west. It's centrally located, and this area was before the Korean, or it was belonged to North Korea, and now become to South Korean area. And so I'm using the civil control zone to develop the project, making exhibition from 2012. So it's 5 minutes already? Or this is an underground tunnel, which was founded in 70s. One of the tunnel we made exhibition venue. And this is 2013. I made 2 exhibitions. One is in the Cheoron area where I showed in the map, and then right side is Nosuntaek's photo about North Korea in Seoul, because the area I'm doing the project, they are afraid of doing the talk about North Korea, so I cannot make the exhibition about North Korea that time. So every year we made the exhibition and made a commission with the artists. So it's developed. Yes.
Thank you very much. So maybe just to make also the how to say, to bridge to the art pieces we are seeing on this floor and on the other floor. I mean, I understand there is a total of 10 works present here. Could you say just maybe 1 or 2 words why these 10 works?
Yes, because this is not an exhibition venue. So I used to work on the exhibition space, but this is only 2 days exhibition. So I try to bring with artists to bring the work and to install. And so 3 works are photographs mostly, and then other works are more like video works. So you can go around and see the work. So this piece by Kim Dong-se, he's an architect and based in New York, and he made actually what was happening in DMZ. It's very information about the DMZ. And then next piece in the lounge, this is an online version of DMZ. It's like a game, because DMZ is, we cannot get in. Only military are based in the DMZ area. So instead of showing, we cannot go into. So we made imaginary piece showing inside of the DMZ. So it's like a imaginary project. So and then other works, artists will explain about the work.
Thank you very much.
남한과 북한은 분명코 다른 사회, 다른 국가입니다. 혹시 여러분 중에 이 말에 동의하지 않는 분이 있을까요?
So South and North Korea are certainly two different societies and two different countries. And I imagine that there will be no one in this room who would deny this.
하지만 저는 이렇게 말해보겠습니다. 남한과 북한은 우리가 생각하는 것보다는 훨씬 다르지 않은 사회다.
But I would like to put it this way, that South and North Korean societies are really not as different as what one might think.
우리가 하나의 손바닥만으로는 박수를 칠 수 없듯이 남북한은 서로 호응하면서 서로를 비난하는 동시에 또 흉내내면서 때로는 비극적으로 때로는 희극적으로 한반도의 분단 체제를 유지해 왔습니다.
So in the same way that it actually takes two hands to clap, the two countries have constantly engaged with each other throughout the past 70 years. So at the same time as criticizing one another, they have actually been imitating one another. And in this way, they have together maintained the division of the Korean Peninsula.
예, 두 번째는 남한과 북한으로 한반도를 둘로 갈라놓은 경계선은 아까 말씀하신 것처럼 각각 2km씩 둘 합해서 4km의 완충지대를 가지고 있습니다.
So the second point I'd like to make is that the truce agreement that ended the Korean War created a total of 4 kilometers wide buffer zone, 2 kilometers from both sides of the military demarcation line, and this runs across the peninsula.
이 완충지대를 DMZ라고 부릅니다.
And we call this buffer zone the DMZ, Demilitarized Zone.
서로가 무장을 하지 않기로 약속한 비무장지대이죠.
And it's an area where both countries arguably committed not to arm.
하지만 저는 이것이 허구의 단어라고 생각합니다.
But
진짜 리얼한 현실은 이곳이 명백한 중무장지대라는 것이죠.
But I would argue that demilitarized zone is actually a fictional word, and that an alternative word, definitely militarized zone, would actually better capture the reality today.
사실상 남한과 북한 전역이 이런 중무장지대이고 한반도는 오랜 기간 단위 면적당 무기 밀도가 가장 높은 세계 화약고였습니다.
In fact, the entire Korean Peninsula, both the north and the south, is heavily armed. And for a long time, Korea was the powder keg of the world and had the highest density of weapons in the entire world.
예, 세 번째는 남한과 북한 그리고 미국을 앞세운 유엔 다국 적군과 중국, 소련이 뛰어든 한국 전쟁은 세계사에 기록될 국제 전쟁이었습니다.
And number 3, finally, is that the Korean War was a tragedy that unfolded in the Korean Peninsula, but it was undeniably an international tragedy and an international war. And as its actors, it had not only North and South Korea, but also China, the former Soviet Union, the US, and the UN.
그 전쟁이 완전히 끝난 게 아니라 잠시 유보된 상태로 이렇게 머문 이제 정전 체제가 만들어진 지가 올해로 꼭 70년이 됐습니다.
And it's been 70 years this year since this war temporarily stopped, and the two countries entered the current state of the ceasefire.
그 세월을 거치면서 분단 체제는 서로의 사회를 기괴하게 변형시키고 압착해 왔습니다.
And over the past decades, this division has powerfully and at times absurdly shaped societies on both sides of the DMZ.
조금 우스꽝스럽게 그리고 과장되게 말하면 이렇습니다. 남한에서 정치 지도자를 향해서 나는 당신들의 의견에 동의하지 않아 라고 말하면 그들은 뭐라고 대답할까요?
So with a little exaggeration, if someone in South Korea says to his or her political leaders that I don't agree with your opinion, what do you think the standard response would be?
그들의 대답은 늘 이랬습니다. 그래? 그렇다면 너는 북한 편이구나.
And the standard reply from the established political leadership has always been, oh yes, then you must be on the side of North Korea.
그런데 이러한 질문과 대답은 북한 또한 크게 다르지 않은 논리로 그런 사회를 이제 유지해 왔죠.
And we've seen that in the past 70 years, this similar logic has also been used in North Korea to maintain the status quo.
제가 계속해온 작업의 관심사는 이런 남한과 북한의 명백하게 다른 점을 바라보되 그 두 사회의 기괴하게 닮은 점, 그 닮은 점을 함께 바라보는 일이었습니다.
And in this context, at the heart of my artwork is an attempt to consider the obviously different aspects of the South and the North Korea, but also shed light on the bizarre similarities that the two societies and countries share.
예.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Maybe still one short question from my side. I mean, we've heard there is a lot of comparative work in what you do, and for me, the question arises. I mean, you compare it, and at the same time, you say it's actually very different. So why starting to compare at all?
닮은 점과 다른 점을 둘 다 이제 보시는데 그럼 왜 비교를 하시기 시작하셨는지 알려주실 수 있으실까요?
일종의 저도 질문을 던지고자 하는 것이었는데요. 남과 북은 정말 다른가?
So it was actually first an attempt to ask the question, is North and South Korea, are they really that different?
그것이 저는 남과 북이 이대로 좋은가에 대한 질문으로 이어질 수 있다라고 생각을 했어요.
And for me, this question leads to another question. Is the current situation satisfying?
끊임없이 서로 다른 점을 바라보려고 하는 사람들은 저는 대화가 어렵다고 생각하거든요. 오히려 닮은 부분들을 인정했을 때 저는 대화가 비로소 시작될 수 있지 않을까 생각합니다.
For me, genuine conversations is not possible between people who are always focusing and emphasizing the different aspects. And through my work, I try to argue that conversations can only begin once the two sides recognize our resemblances and our similarities.
북한 평양의 한 상징물과 남한 서울의 한 상징물에 관한 저의 생각과 질문들은 저기 앞에 있는 작업 옆에 핸드아웃이 있거든요. 거기에 자세하게 적혀 있으니까 그거 참고하시면 될 것 같습니다.
So this is the two photographs that are displayed outside, and it compares on the left a symbol in North Korea and on the right a symbol in South Korea. And there's also a really detailed handout on the next to the artwork that you can read about.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
우선 제목은 이제 낯선 선들이라는 제목인데 우선 DMZ에 관련해 가지고 작업을 하는 게 한국에서는 사실 많은 작가들이 이 주제를 다룹니다. 그리고 해외에서는 또 그 주제에 대해서 굉장히 관심들이 많고요.
So I've labeled my collection here Unfamiliar Lines. And DMZ actually is actually a common subject for a lot of artists and especially Korean artists.
저는 사회적인 문제보다는 작업 그 자체에 대한 관련해서 이제 말씀을 드리고자 하는데
And instead of focusing on the political and social aspect of the situation in the DMZ, I'd like to focus on art.
이 주제가 굉장히 무거운 작업에 있어서 무거운 주제이고 또한 어려운 주제라고 생각을 합니다.
The subject of DMZ is a heavy and difficult topic.
그러나 저는 이제 농담에 관련해서 작업을 했고 그 부분에 대해서 여러분들에게 설명을 드리고자 합니다.
But my artwork actually explores this topic through almost jokes and banter.
보시면은 일반인들이 일단 여기 들어갈 수 없게 통제되어 있고요. 저 또한 여기를 들어가기 위해서 굉장히 어려운 과정 속에서 허가를 받고 들어가게 됐습니다.
So the DMZ, as mentioned, is restricted to civilians, and for me as well, I had to go through a lot of difficult processes to gain access to this area.
저는 이제 약 세 곳의 다른 동쪽에서 서쪽까지의 세 곳의 끝에서 끝까지를 이제 보게 되었는데.
I visited 3 different sites along the demilitarized zone, from the east to the west.
각기 다 다른 성향의 마을들이 형성되어 있었습니다.
And each villages that I visited had its own characteristics.
그런데 저의 느낌은 굉장히 낯설음과 동시에 매우 익숙함이 함께 있었습니다.
But the commonality of all these villages I visited were that they were both familiar, but at the same time also very unfamiliar and strange.
굉장히 평범한 마을들이 형성되어 있음에도 불구하고 잠재된 어떤 공포 같은 것들이 거기 존재하고 있었고요.
In one sense, they resemble any other villages in the Korean countryside, but at the same time, it harbors this potential for violence and war.
저는 거기서 다른 상상을 하기 시작했습니다.
And as I looked through this space through my camera lens, I started imagining a different world.
어떻게 보면 굉장히 무책임하다고 생각할 수도 있지만 잠재되어 있는 폭력성이나 어떤 전쟁의 잔혹함 대신 그냥 약간은 가볍고 농담 같은 상상을 하게 되었습니다.
So some people might say that this is an irresponsible approach or a dangerous approach, but instead of focusing on this terrifying prospect of war, I wanted to focus and look through what are the casual objects and the everyday objects that we can see in this area.
초소에 예를 들면 초소에 확성기가 켜 있는데 예를 들면 이런 것들을 보면서 디즈니 애니메이션의 슈렉을 생각하거나 예.
So for example, those three things that you would see at the top of a checkpoint are loudspeakers, and these are used to send ideological slogans or propaganda messages to the north on a daily basis. But when he was looking at this, he wondered, it actually looks like Shrek, but less green.
그 외에도 이런 길들은 길이 급히 닦여졌는데 끝이 사라져 버렸습니다. 그래서 거기에 풀들이 나고 사람이 다니지 않는 길이 돼 버렸어요.
At the same time, these roads are paved, but because no one's been using it, it's full of untamed plants all around it.
그리고 동상들, 군인의 동상들이 있는데 이런 동상들에서 저는 다른 모습들을 봤습니다. 약간은 농담 같은 모습인데요. 뭐 이런. 예.
So there's also these odd statues and sculptures dotted around the zone, and I decided to focus on something that is more humorous and everyday.
잘못 생각하시면 이제 뭐 굉장히 무책임하다고 오해하실 수도 있겠지만 저의 상상은 이런 것들에서 다른 측면들을 보고 싶었습니다.
So taking this playful, lighthearted approach towards the subject of DMZ can be risky, but through my artwork, I try to walk this delicate balance of focusing on the everyday and the casual.
이 의자 같은 경우도 이제 유럽의 18세기 아르데코나 그 부르주아들의 소파인데 그런 것들이 저렇게 버려져 있거나.
So this is very elaborately ornate Italian furniture from the 18th century or so, left in an otherwise rural and basic setting.
낯선 선들이라는 제목을 정하게 될 땐 제가 이 장면을 보고 정하게 됐었습니다. 그러니까 동해안 쪽에 가면 바다를 볼 때 그 바깥쪽에 바다가 있는 곳에 저런 철창의 선들이 많이 있는데요. 여긴 바다는 없습니다.
So this site was actually why I decided to call my collection Unfamiliar Lines. So if you go to the eastern part of the Korean Peninsula along the DMZ, you can see these wired fences even on oceans.
그러나 저는 바다를 상상하며 이제 저런 장면을 찍었습니다. 그리고 이 부분도 이제 지뢰를 밟으면 터진다는 표시입니다. 그래서 여기 가면 안 되죠.
So this is actually a sign that is warning that there's a landmine there.
그러나 저에게는 단순한 디자인적인 요소로만 보여질 정도로 위험이 표백화되었습니다.
But because I couldn't see or feel any danger or violence in the place, those images just looked like triangular shapes and nothing more.
이 동상도 마찬가지로 무엇을 하고 있는지 원반 던지기를 하고 있는 소녀로 보입니다. 예.
And similarly, this sculpture just looks like any other sculpture that the girl is playing a game.
예, 그래서 여러분들에게 이제 저는 얘기하고 싶은 게 저희가 언제든지 미사일이 떨어지고 건물이 부서지고 사람들이 죽는 상황을 매일 TV를 중계를 통해서 저희는 보고 있는데요.
So one of the key messages that I wanted to make today was that in today's mediatized world, we constantly consume images of war, violence. We see video clips of missiles falling and people dying on a daily basis.
우리가 여전히 안전하다는 것은 그 방송을 보는 나를 통해서 증명됩니다.
And the fact that I'm watching those scenes on a screen almost feels like a reassurance that I am still safe.
DMZ는 그동안 생산된 많은 상투적 이미지들을 소비했습니다.
So over the years, certain representations of DMZ have been continually reproduced by artists both Korean and abroad and have almost become a cliché.
소비되어지고 잊혀진다는 것은 이미지의 운명입니다.
Perhaps the fact that images become forgotten over time is a natural thing in this industry of photography.
저는 저에게 질문해 봤습니다. 빨리 사라지고 잊혀지지 않을 수 있는 이미지의 방법은 무엇일까? 그 운명을 늦추는 방법은 무엇일까?
So I asked myself, how do I make my photographs live on? How do I make them become not forgotten?
한국에는 여전히 유효한 전쟁의 이미지가 늘 존재합니다.
To Koreans, a war is a real possibility, and at the same time, it's something that we have to live with daily.
그럼에도 사람들은 그것을 매우 편하게 무감각하게 소비하고 있습니다.
But at the same time, people go about their daily lives not thinking about the threat of war, and almost the prospect of war seems impossible.
따라서 나는 농담을 하고 싶었습니다.
And that's why I wanted to take this banterful, light-hearted approach.
전쟁의 공포는 우리에게 실제적 위험이며 극복해야 할 대상입니다.
So because war is a real possibility and a threat,
많은 사진가들은 그 공포를 알리는 이미지를 만들어냅니다.
it's not surprising that a lot of artists create images that capture this terrifying prospect of war.
So last is Kyunya.
Yep.
Please.
So this is the propaganda flyer of the previous leader of the North Korea. I found that this propaganda, something like this, this propaganda flyer under the gate of my parents' house in the summer of 2008. And I was shocked because like 35 years ago, it was very common to see this, find this kind of flyers on the mountainside or on the street. Especially, I used to live in very, near to North Korean side, so we brought this kind of propaganda bills to school, and the teacher gave some gifts. Yeah, gift and a compliment. So you see this, we call pira, something propaganda things. And I also thought, still we found this a lot. And I thought, what if I send this kind of propaganda flyers back to North Korea, but in artist way? So I was thinking what I send or how to send. And I thought, I want to send, I want to let them hear about what's going on in the whole world. We are living in a digital world, and only with one click of mouse, all the world accessed. So, but they are not very closed. So I want to needle their ear with the stories. So I collected
the international news and the domestic news, and also the other episodes, stories, wrote with my friend poet, rewrote in humorous way of North Korean, speaking something. Then I thought, how to send it? There's no agency, so I thought maybe embroidery is the opposite medium from the digital. It's a highly labor-intensive medium, and also, very analog, slow. So although something happened, like to be confiscated, something like that, the people can, read the whole text that I sent, or see the imageries, that I sent. So I found an intermediary to bring my text and the imageries through the, like third countries, to give the North Korean embroidery artisans. So I want to collaborate with them, collaborate and communicate. Yeah. So, and then they send back after they finish it. And the first work, all the news articles was unfortunately confiscated when it was almost done, like 90% completed. The North Korean, communist authorities could read this and confiscate. But my original theme and my aim was for them to read and experience, and while they embroider. So although it was, it was a succeeded in failure. So then, then I saw the documentary about card section, in North Korea, like thousands of children hold a color chart, and making the entire, like propaganda images or sentences. And then, one time the camera lens closed up the face of the boy who holds a color chart, and to see the instructor in front of him, and the hit behind the color chart immediately. And it was a striking moment that he became a pixel of the entire image of gone, like this. So I brought this idea into my work. So like stitch by stitches, the unknown existence, who is like North Korean artisans who made, who embroider my images, so existed. So I made a like a chandelier project, and this is I thought like a symbol of the imperialism, and which is like a shaking and fell down, something like that. And there, like unknown existence, North Korean as a victim of World War. This World War, and the South Korean artists collaborated, and talking about the facing of the power and power structure and hegemonies, or world history, I thought. So, and then this work, I while doing this project, I made this project over 10 years. So it was like espionage, films. Through the intermediaries, I always we met at the border, and then, gave them the images, and then after a month, people coming to North Korea, and then after a month, they brought the works, back to China or Russia, whatever. Then we met, and then I got them. So while doing this project, this is 2016, and there was the North Korea shot a missile, and the Korean government kind of declared, we closed down the Kaesong industrial complex that South Korea built in North Korea with the South Korean companies, and with the North Korean laborers, very near to South Korea. And then next day, the North Korean government also declared, leave everybody, all the South Korean companies leave Kaesong complex within 4 hours. So they have to bring as much as they can, their products, everything within 4 hours. So there was like exodus. So it was a lot of the journalism images, photos. So I reinterpret them, and because it's an accumulation of the tears and the effort and the blood, I thought, whatever, then made this is actually a chip A4 laser prints, and overwhelming images, and I showed in a different DMZ project. And here I brought in fabric print, like curtain, with a different, also with the colors. So I thought it's like a rainbow kind of, yeah. So this is it, yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And I think this is an excellent last picture, because this is actually what is present also here. You can see it one floor lower here. And I think now the presentations you got, they are meant to be more teasers about what the respective artists are doing, and also about certain elements of their work which are present here. So thank you very much to you.
Thank you.